Hi, Krista. I'm sorry to hear that you're feeling depressed, but you get all the gold stars for not only getting through the day, but also making a video, which, as I know, is a lot of friggin' work. When I feel depressed, I like to stay in bed sometimes for multiple days at a time. Yeah, that's not advice. That's just what I do. Lying in bed is just a maladaptive self-care behavior. It's not really a symptom of my depression. It is a way for me to cope with what's going on in my head. To other people, of course, it does seem like a symptom. It's the first indicator sometimes that something might be wrong with me. Um, but for me, it is adaptive in a way. It's something that has led to me surviving, and frankly, making it through feels like a huge accomplishment, especially on bad days. The symptoms of my depression are more emotional states and thought patterns. It starts with a series of thoughts that I can recognize, like rehashing the last 24 hours, especially if there were any sort of embarrassing or awkward social interactions, and recalling all sorts of embarrassing memories, thinking about things that are my fault, both things that I am immediately responsible for. There are some, and some of them are very bad. And then thinking about other things that I am also partially responsible for, things done by my governments or organizations that I've participated in, or my race, or any number of other things. And then finally, comparing myself to other people. So thinking about all of the people who have similar circumstances to mine, and even people who don't have similar circumstances to mine, and how much better they are doing or have done than I have. That is not at all a good strategy, but these are just sort of some hallmarks of thoughts that I have been able to recognize that indicate that a depressive episode is starting. So eventually, these thoughts just sort of spiral together into a general feeling that I am terrible and deserve to feel terrible. And that makes it really hard to get things done. One, because feeling terrible really cuts into your motivation, and two, because considering how terrible I am and all the ways in which I am terrible really just saps a lot of mental resources. So, there's a sort of feedback loop that's created where I feel terrible, so I can't get things done, so I feel terrible, so I can't get things done, so I feel terrible, so I can't get things. You see where this is going. Anyhow, interrupting that feedback loop enough to just like get out of bed and get a meal is sometimes really daunting. So, surviving that is an achievement. So I've learned some strategies that make depressive episodes less daunting, and habits of mind and routines that make my depressive episodes less frequent. But I've only learned those through talk therapy, pharmaceuticals, and trial and error. There is no easy way. It's a difficult thing. I do not have an off switch for my depression, and I cannot find my bootstraps to pull myself up with. Because of this very common bootstrap conception of mental health and the stigma associated with mental illness, I often do not discuss depression in any sort of way where the illness will be associated with my name. But doing that contributes to the culture of shame we have around mental illness. So making this video is one way for me to break the silence, and I hope it helps. Krista, I will see you tomorrow.